Welcome to History with Herodotus, where we delve into the depths of human experience, exploring the complexities and wonders of our shared past. Today, we embark on a journey through one of the most tumultuous periods in modern Chinese history, the Cultural Revolution. This pivotal event, which unfolded like a maelstrom across the vast expanse of China, left an indelible mark on the nation and its people, shaping the country's trajectory in profound ways. In the early 20th century, China was a nation in turmoil, grappling with the aftermath of imperial collapse, foreign invasion, and civil war. It was amidst this chaos that the Communist Party of China, led by Mao Zedong, rose to power in 1949, promising a new era of socialism and equality. Mao, a figure of immense charisma and ideological fervor, had long been the driving force behind the Chinese Communist movement. His vision for a socialist utopia, as outlined in his writings and speeches, captivated the imagination of millions, inspiring widespread devotion and loyalty. However, beneath the surface of this revolutionary zeal, currents of tension and factionalism were already beginning to stir. In the years following the Communist Party's ascension to power, Mao implemented a series of radical policies aimed at transforming China into a socialist state. The Great Leap Forward, launched in 1958, was one such initiative which sought to rapidly industrialize and collectivize agriculture through massive infrastructure projects and communal farming. Although intended to propel China into a new era of prosperity, the Great Leap Forward ultimately proved disastrous, resulting in widespread famine, economic collapse, and an estimated 45 million deaths. The catastrophic consequences of the Great Leap Forward led to a significant decline in Mao's popularity and influence within the party. As criticism and dissent grew, Mao found himself facing opposition from moderates like Liu Shaoqi and Deng Xiaoping, who advocated for more pragmatic and gradual approaches to socialist development. As the 1960s progressed, Mao, now in his early 70s, became increasingly concerned about his legacy and the perceived threat of revisionism within the party. He began to mobilize support among China's youth, calling upon them to join him in a crusade against bureaucratic corruption, intellectual elitism, and capitalist restoration. This appeal to the young and idealistic would soon unleash a torrent of revolutionary fervor, as millions of students, workers, and peasants were swept up in a maelstrom of activism, fervently dedicated to defending Mao's vision of socialism. In the spring of 1966, the first stirrings of the Cultural Revolution began to manifest. Posters and leaflets, known as big character posters, started appearing on university campuses and city streets, denouncing alleged counter-revolutionaries and calling for radical action against the established order. These early salvos were soon followed by the formation of Red Guard units, composed of enthusiastic young radicals who saw themselves as the vanguard of Mao's revolution. As the Red Guard units proliferated, their fervor and militancy intensified, with many taking to the streets to denounce and attack perceived enemies of the revolution. The summer of 1966 witnessed a tidal wave of violence and intimidation as radical students and workers, often armed with makeshift weapons, stormed government offices, schools, and homes, seeking to purge society of counter-revolutionary elements. On August 18, 1966, a massive rally was held in Tiananmen Square, where Mao reviewed a parade of over 1 million Red Guards, praising their dedication and urging them to continue the revolution. The ensuing months saw a dramatic escalation of violence and chaos, as Red Guard factions clashed with one another and with local authorities. The infamous Red August of 1966 was marked by widespread arson, vandalism, and brutality, with thousands of homes and businesses destroyed and countless innocent civilians beaten, imprisoned, or killed. In Beijing alone, over 1,700 people were murdered during this period, many of their bodies left to rot in the streets. One of the most disturbing aspects of the Cultural Revolution was the systematic destruction of China's cultural heritage. Red Guards, fueled by a zealous desire to eradicate the four olds, old ideas, old culture, old customs, and old habits, set about demolishing temples, museums, and historical landmarks, burning ancient texts and artifacts, and persecuting scholars, artists, and intellectuals. The venerable temple of Confucius in Khufu, Shandong province, was ransacked and desecrated, its priceless relics and manuscripts destroyed or stolen. As the revolution gained momentum, the Chinese government's institutions began to disintegrate. In September 1966, Mao launched the Down to the Countryside movement, which sent millions of urban youths to rural areas to learn from peasants and participate in agricultural production. While intended to promote social equality and reduce urban unemployment, this policy ultimately led to widespread displacement, poverty, and disillusionment among China's youth. In January 1967, a power seizure took place in Shanghai, where radical workers and students, backed by Mao's supporters, overthrew the local government and established a new, revolutionary authority. This event was hailed as a model for the rest of the country, and soon similar power seizures were occurring in cities across China. However, these new authorities often proved ineffective and corrupt, leading to further instability and conflict. The summer of 1967 saw a significant escalation of violence as factional struggles between different Red Guard groups intensified. In Wuhan, a major city in central China, a radical faction known as the Workers' Headquarters clashed with local military units, resulting in a bloody confrontation that left hundreds dead or injured. The incident was widely publicized, and Mao himself intervened to mediate the conflict, but the damage had already been done. As 1968 dawned, the Cultural Revolution showed no signs of abating. In February of that year, the Revolutionary Committee system was introduced, which aimed to establish new, radical authorities at all levels of government. However, these committees often proved powerless against the entrenched interests and factions that had developed during the revolution. Meanwhile, the Chinese economy teetered on the brink of collapse as industrial production plummeted and food shortages became widespread. In July 1968, Mao made a dramatic appearance at Tsinghua University in Beijing, where he attempted to calm the warring Red Guard factions and redirect their energies towards more constructive pursuits. However, his words fell on deaf ears, and the violence continued unabated. The following month, the Chinese military was deployed to restore order, marking the beginning of a long and difficult process of suppressing the radical movements and rebuilding the shattered social and economic fabric of the country. As the Chinese military struggled to restore order, Mao's leadership began to face increasing criticism from within the party. In 1969, the Ninth Party Congress was held, which marked a significant turning point in the Cultural Revolution. The Congress saw the rise of Lin Biao, a prominent military leader and Mao's designated successor, who would later play a crucial role in the revolution's demise. Meanwhile, the country's economy continued to deteriorate, with industrial production declining by over 30% between 1966 and 1969. The early 1970s saw a series of significant events that would ultimately contribute to the Cultural Revolution's conclusion. In 1971, Lin Biao attempted to flee China after his plot to overthrow Mao was discovered, but his plane crashed in Mongolia, killing him and his family. This incident marked a significant blow to the radical left and paved the way for the gradual rehabilitation of Deng Xiaoping, a veteran leader who would later become China's paramount leader. As Deng himself once said, "The Cultural Revolution was a catastrophe. It was a period of tremendous chaos and destruction, but it also taught us a valuable lesson that without stability and order, there can be no progress." In 1972, Mao met with U.S. President Richard Nixon in Beijing, marking a significant shift in China's foreign policy and the beginning of its re-engagement with the international community. This event also marked a turning point in the Cultural Revolution as Mao began to focus more on diplomatic relations and economic development rather than radical social change. The following year, Deng Xiaoping was officially rehabilitated and returned to power, playing a key role in implementing economic reforms and gradually dismantling the revolutionary committees. The Cultural Revolution officially came to an end with Mao's death in 1976, when the Gang of Four, a radical faction that had dominated the revolution's later stages, was arrested and put on trial. The new leadership, under Deng Xiaoping and Hua Guofeng, began to implement policies aimed at rebuilding the country's economy and restoring social order. In 1981, the Chinese Communist Party officially declared the Cultural Revolution a grave mistake and acknowledged its devastating consequences. Today, The Cultural Revolution is remembered in China as a traumatic period of chaos and destruction, which resulted in the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people and the displacement of millions. The event is often referred to as a catastrophe or a tragedy, and its legacy continues to shape Chinese politics and society. As historian Jonathan Spence has noted, the Cultural Revolution was a complex and multifaceted event that defies easy interpretation. But one thing is clear: it had a profound impact on China's development and will continue to be felt for generations to come. In conclusion, the Cultural Revolution in China was a pivotal moment in modern Chinese history, marked by unprecedented violence, social upheaval, and economic devastation. Its legacy continues to shape China's politics, economy, and society today, serving as a reminder of the dangers of unchecked radicalism and the importance of stability and order. That's all for today's History with Herodotus. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, remember that, to understand the present, we must first understand the past.